Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1724B, and today's date is November 25th, 2018, and the title of the episode is Moves Are Not Telegraphed. What happens next will change everything. Now, before I get started, I wanted to talk to all the Trump supporters. Noble Gold has just released a 24-karat solid gold commemorative Trump 2020 Freedom Coin. The demand for these has been staggering, and I have to tell you, there's now a waiting list for them. And if you're a Trump supporter and you want to own one of these, right now, if you get on their waiting list, they are currently discounting the coin over $50 per coin, which is an incredible savings for this commemorative coin. So to get on the waiting list and reserve yours, go to TrumpCoin2020.com to secure your coin. The link is at the bottom of this video. To make it a lot easier, all you have to do is click on it. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, we've been noticing that the deep state, they've been projecting quite a bit because they're getting prepared for what is coming. And this is the declas, this is the Moab, the mother of all bombs, this is the election fraud, this is everything thrown at them at once. And they're becoming very, very nervous, as we can see throughout the news, because they are using projection like crazy, and we're going to be talking about that in just a minute. But I wanted to go back to Obama's Common Core. Now, we've been covering this since the introduction of Common Core. I interviewed an individual, his name was Dr. Duke Pesta, and he discussed Common Core and how it was going to bring down all the scores. Now, again, we need to remember why all this was put into place. And of course, all of this has to be unwound right now, because what is happening is that certain things are still in place where they're pushing this because the deep state, the central bankers, they were pushing the country to become a country of morons. That's really what they wanted. They just wanted worker bees. And how do you do this? Well, you dumb them down. Now, what's very interesting about Common Core is we're starting to see the results of all of this. And what we're seeing, and there's a lot of studies that are being done right now, we're starting to see huge drops in student performance scores across the country. Now, the report that was released, it basically said, and it declared that Obama's Common Core to be the worst large-scale educational failure in 40 years. The study examined the effects of Common Core on school choice and found the program has blunted the innovation, dynamism, and competition, while also producing the worst math scores in generations. Ted Rebarber of Accountability Works co-authored the study with Cato Institute's Neil McCluskey, who previously led another study titled Common Core, School Choice, and Rethinking Standards-Based Reform. And the report showed this is a complete and utter disaster for the United States. And we knew that this was part of their agenda. Now the truth is all starting to come out. And this is why all of this has to be taken out of the school system. And everything has to be unwound. If you really think about it, everything that the deep state, everything that the central banks had put into place was not to benefit the American people. And you really need to think about it. Think about when the mainstream media was out there and the states and everyone else was telling you how great this was going to be. It's Common Core. You need it. It's always the opposite. When you hear the mainstream media scream and yell and really push an agenda, when you hear government officials push an agenda or tell you this is the way it is, that you have to do or listen to this, if you hear central bankers tell you, you have to do it this way, you have to listen, it's always the opposite. Most of the bills, most of the laws that come out have great titles on them. And I've said this for a very long time. Most of these laws are the opposite of what they're really doing. The Patriot Act, it's not for patriots. Common Core was not to help the everyday person, to educate them. Actually, since the government got involved in education, if you look back at all the stats, our scores here in the United States have been dropping every single year. They've done the best when communities got involved. The parents got involved because they know best. They know what's going to help their children. Government should stay out of it. When you heard about the Affordable Care Act, where you can keep your doctor. It's going to be very inexpensive. Everybody can get insurance. It's going to be fantastic. Well, if it's so fantastic, why do you have to penalize people who don't want it? Again, when they tell you you need something like this and they force you into it, you know it's not good for you. And what had happened with this is the middle class got hurt. Those people that own small businesses, those people that had to insure themselves, it was very difficult. Those people who were on the poorer end, they were subsidized. So to them, it was fantastic. But what was the real reason of doing all this? It was to make everyone dependent on the government. That was the plan. And to put everyone into the system. And of course, there were deals with insurance companies and things like that. This wasn't to help everyone get healthier. This was to make everyone dependent on the government. This is what they wanted in the end. So if you're dependent on the government, what happens? They can control you. Now, we know that all of this is being undone right now. This is why the deep state is lashing out. This is why the deep state hates Trump. He's not following the plans. He's undoing everything they put into place. I mean, look what he's undone so far. All the trading, the globalist trade system, all the wars that they had going on in the Middle East, all coming to an end. All that regime change, the trillions of dollars that were wasted and being pumped out into the Middle East. And by the way, there were walls being built out there. Very interesting. But the same people who built walls out there didn't want a wall here in the United States. Wow. But what we're seeing is we're seeing them push their agenda. They're trying to stop Trump in everything that he does. I mean, look at the latest here. We see a watchdog group, American Oversight, submitted a complaint to the Office of Special Counsel this week accusing the acting Attorney General, Matthew Whitaker, of possible Hatch Act violations. So this is the latest hit on Matt Whitaker. Remember, he's the acting Attorney General. Why are they so afraid of him? Why are they pushing so hard? Because they know that Whitaker is going to expose corruption, going to expose the crimes of those individuals. And they can't stop them. They're scrambling right now. We see right now the UK Secret Service Intelligence, otherwise known as MI6, has been scrambling to prevent Trump from publishing classified materials linked to the Russian election meddling, which there was none. That was made up. What are they doing? They're stopping him from declassifying everything. Why? Because that will bring the Five Eyes countries into focus. People will realize the UK, Australia, and the rest were involved in the corruption, in spying on a candidate to become president and a president. And once that happens, what do you think the people of the countries are going to do? Do you think they're just going to say, wow, our government did what? We were spying on an American presidential candidate, then we were spying on a president and helping an administration that was leaving the White House? Think about all of this. And we know that Trump wants to declassify the 21 pages. Remember, timing is everything. The timing is the most important part of this. And these countries are trying to stop Trump. Remember what Trump tweeted out on September 21st, 2018. I met with the Department of Justice concerning the declassification of various unredacted documents. They agreed to release them, but stated that so doing may have perceived negative impact on the Russian probe. That was an excuse. Also, key allies called to ask not to release. Therefore, the Inspector General, which has been asked to review these documents on an expedited basis, I believe he will move quickly on this, and hopefully other things which he is looking at. In the end, I can always declassify it if it proves necessary. Speed is very important to me and everyone. Think about what he said back then. This is when Rod Rosenstein was in power. Remember, Sessions recused himself. So if Rod Rosenstein didn't declassify this, Trump was going to do it on his own. Now, Sessions resigned. Whitaker is in his place. Whitaker did not recuse himself. Who has control over the declassified information? Trump did this as a safeguard. If Rod Rosenstein didn't do it because the plan didn't go as the way they wanted, where Whitaker came into power, he would just do it on his own. Now he doesn't have to do this. Why? Because the acting attorney general is now ready to do it. He's in that position. He is not recused. And Q has told us there will be no recusals. Remember, they can't telegraph every piece of the plan. A lot of it has to stay hidden. They can give us a lot of the information, which we'll talk about in just a while, but a lot of it has to stay a secret until the right time. They can give us clues and hints, which they've done. Q Team and Q Plus have done this. But if they telegraph everything, guess what? The deep state, they know exactly what's happening. And they'll use their ammunition at that point in time. That's why timing is so very important. We see that ex-CIA director Michael Hayden, remember he's an anti-Trump former CIA director, well, he suffered a stroke. Now, there's no reports really saying how bad this stroke is. Now, again, we know that certain individuals, they might suicide themselves. Some might say they might have this illness, so it makes it seem like you can't go after them. And with a stroke, you can say he can't remember anything, so there's nothing you can do to him. And I think we're going to see a lot of this as we move forward. I'm not saying this is fake or real or anything like that, but it's just coincidental that this just so happened to happen at this exact moment. I mean, as Q would say, there are no coincidences. Just like with McCain. Now, we know that the caravan is heading up to the border right now. Now, there are reports that Trump, struck some type of deal with Mexico. Mexico's incoming government is saying that there really is no deal. But Trump did tweet out the following. So there has to be something going on in this area. And I believe the mainstream media is out there saying, no deal. They should be allowed into the United States. So Trump tweeted out November 24, 2018, migrants at the southern border will not be allowed into the United States until their claims are individually approved in court. We only will allow those who come into our country legally. Other than that, our very strong policy is catch and detain. No releasing into the U.S. All will stay in Mexico. Just like if these individuals were coming into Mexico and they were using the same exact policies, all the people would stay in the other country until Mexico would be able to process them. I think that's what Trump is saying. They will stay in Mexico right now until they come through the port of entry legally. He went on to say, if for any reason it becomes necessary, we'll close our southern border. There is no way that the United States will, after decades of abuse, put up with costly and dangerous situations anymore. Now, what's very interesting is that individuals, they're going to try to climb the fence, even though there's barbed wire and things like that. We know the plan is to rush the border, cause chaos. Because what does the deep state really want? What does the mainstream media really want? Now, if these people are really seeking asylum and they're trying to escape their country, remember, they're completely out of their country right now. They're in Mexico. Mexico let them through, and now they're at the border of the United States. Well, some of them are. The rest are coming. If they truly wanted to seek asylum, they would go to the port of entry. They wouldn't try to climb over the fence. They wouldn't try to get in here illegally. They wouldn't throw stones. They wouldn't cause chaos. Remember, the deep state, this is really the plan of this caravan, because most of the individuals are not women and children. Most of them are gang members, terrorists, drug dealers, traffickers, and the rest. We're already seeing the first act of violence on the border. This was done by an Honduran man. He's 31 years old. He climbed a tree to try and avoid capture. He started throwing rocks at the agents, and we come to find out that this individual was arrested in this country before, and he was deported back in June. Why? Because he's a criminal. And here he is once again trying to get into the United States. And you can see why he didn't go to the port of entry. He would have been rejected. But we know the plan of the deep state. They want the military, the border agents, to use force on these people. How do you make the military and the border guards use force? You climb the walls, you throw rocks, you push the agenda to the extreme to make individuals react. You even hit the soldiers with sticks, rocks, and anything else they can find. The mainstream media wants this televised across the country. They want to show what Trump has done to the Dreamers. He's beaten them, he's shot at them, and this is how we treat people trying to seek asylum. Well, the plan's not going to work. The plan is not going to be what the mainstream media wants. Because as we know, and DHS has said this before, that those individuals traveling in these caravans are criminals. Trump has said this many, many times before. And before the mainstream media will be able to push their agenda, the deep state will be able to push their agenda, Trump is going to expose those individuals. He's going to show that they're criminals, that they're trafficking children, that they're drug smugglers, that they're gang members, that they're terrorists. That's what he's going to be putting out there. Everything on his Twitter feed will be showing another gang member, another drug trafficker, another, criminal, terrorist, over and over and over again. The mainstream media is never going to get their battle that they want. And the entire caravan is then going to be exposed. Because as these individuals move towards the port of entry, who want to seek asylum, well, they're going to go through all these people. And they're going to find out who's who. Now, most of them might not even come. Most of them might say, okay, this is not what we planned on. This is not happening here. I can't be found out. And they might just leave. But we can see at this point, the Trump administration, the Patriots, the military intelligence, they already know who these individuals are. This plan is not going to work. The deep state is stuck. And this is why they're very nervous about this. This is why they put out, the footage of individuals climbing over fences, and then Trump put out footage showing that, no, now we have barbed wire. They're not going to be, climbing over anything. They're going to be caught up in barbed wire. They'll never even make it. And we see at this point that these individuals, they didn't expect all of this. They expected that, they'll just jump over the border and, start a ruckus and it will be filmed. This was what they were paid for. And now everything is about to change. We see out in France, Macron is having a huge problem with the people. Now we know his ratings are hitting rock bottom. The people never wanted him in office. And what are we seeing out there? We're watching individuals riot, protest because of gasoline costs. Now, do we really think it's just about gasoline costs? No, this goes much, much deeper. And what we're seeing right now is these individuals, they don't like the way France is being run. They don't like their leaders. And there are individuals that are protesting, that are pushing their agenda. They are dubbed yellow vests, and they are out in the streets showing Macron that they are not happy with him. And I think Macron has to be very, very careful here, because Angela Merkel is not running once again because the people are like, yeah, we don't want you here. Macron, the same thing's going to be happening. The people are going to say, we don't want you here. You're going to see a revolution in France. What does this mean? This means that the movement is spreading across the world. Everyone is starting to take notice. The deep state leaders, they're in trouble. Now, what's very interesting, we knew that this Khashoggi entire event was put into place by intelligent operatives. Now, we mentioned that Sybil Edmonds from NewsBud was reporting on this PSYOP concocted by CIA, MI6, and Mossad. And what she's saying right now is that this is a massive PSYOP that was put together by these individuals in MI6, CIA, and Mossad. And this was, and certain high-level Saudi government intelligence officers, they were all working together to push this agenda. Remember what Blumenthal came out to say and Brennan came out to say and the mainstream media came out to say? You must listen to the CIA. They have the report. That's it. The end of that. Of course they're saying that because they want Trump to do what they want him to do, but he's not doing it. Let me just read some of this, of what Sybil Edmonds has wrote here. General Perkin, an insider with a long career in intelligence who has high-level contacts and sources within MI6, CIA, and Mossad, made the following statements while risking severe backlash from government here in Turkey. There has been an intense behind-the-scenes competition between the UK and US over Aramco and its coming IPO scheduled for 2020 via either the London or New York Stock Exchange, many billions of dollars worth. Jamal Khashoggi is very close to certain Aramco board members and has been a prize sought by both US and UK players due to his connections. UK MI6 concocted the plans, or fakery, to kidnap Khashoggi. The CIA and Mossad got involved in this UK plot. The fiancé was some sort of honey trap, most likely concocted to MI6 or possibly the CIA, and is not who they claim she is, not genuine. They may have selected Turkey as a secondary target to damage its reputation, with the U.S. aiming to set up a Kurdish state in the northern Syria and possibility of ending its alliance with Turkey. I've been seeking a second legitimate named source for the above information, which I had already gathered weeks prior to General Perkins' revelation on November 1st, a trustable source, a newspaper editor and investigative reporter with history and experience in intelligence matters in Turkey. The behind-the-scenes clash between the U.S. and Britain has shaken the foundations of global intelligence. On September 11, 2018, MI6 intercepted Saudi communications pertaining to plans to kidnap or eliminate Khashoggi. They notified the CIA and had 3 meetings in connection with these intercepted plans. Khashoggi was not who the mainstream media has been portraying. Right from day one, the media published and marketed a false portrayal of his so-called victim, and did so intentionally. Jamal Khashoggi was not a journalist. He contributed less than a handful of fluff opinion pieces for the Washington Post, of course, a newspaper with a long history of CIA partnership. He was Osama bin Laden's partner and confidant through the 80s. He's been on the CIA team since 1982. In the 90s, he worked as liaison intel officer for Saudi CIA cooperation. Starting in the mid-2000s, he was an active Arab Spring operative for several NGOs, many of them funded by George Soros and the CIA. Pretty much everything fed by the media giving Khashoggi and his background almost a saint-like status has been false, intentionally. And we knew this from the beginning. This was a complete and utter setup. Why do you think the mainstream media had all the information? Why do you think Brennan and the rest of the crew was out there saying that Trump must follow the CIA intelligence report? All of this was put into place to trap Trump. Trump, the military intelligence, knew that this was a trap. And this is why they have other plans. And you can see the individuals, they don't like this. They were trying to bring down the entire system by pushing this agenda and blaming it on Trump. And now, it's not working. And we're going to have to see what Trump, the military, does at this point, because I do believe they have something working in the background. Again, they're not going to telegraph everything that they are doing. But I do believe that evidence is going to come out at the right time that shows who was behind this. Now think about it. Add that to the declas, add it to election fraud, add it to everything else. Because think about it. When all of this is released, It brings in what countries? Israel. It brings in the UK. It brings in Australia. It brings in New Zealand. And to show that all these countries were also involved in Khashoggi, along with the mainstream media. I mean, this is the Moab of all Moabs. They're just sitting back. When I say they're, I'm talking about the patriots. They're letting the deep state do what they do best. Let them do all of this. Capture the intelligence. Capture the evidence. What better way to capture what they're doing but to let them do what they do best? Let them be caught in the act with election fraud and everything else. Now, out in Syria, we see the rebels. They have been firing shells against the northern Syrian army, and in the shells is chlorine gas. So here we have the proof that the rebels, the terrorists, they have been using chlorine gas. As many as 50 people have been suffering from the effects. So the deep state, who've been using the rebels, the terrorist groups, they have been using chemical weapons. Very interesting. And we've said this many, many times before. Why has no one ever blamed the terrorists for using these type of weapons? They are terrorists, of course. So why wouldn't they use these type of weapons? They would, and they have been. They're the ones who've been doing it. Now, I want to go back to post 381 because we've been talking about how POTUS, Q, the Patriots, they don't telegraph their moves. We've been talking about disinformation also. We need to go back to 381 because Q has mentioned this many, many times before. 381, this was back in December 19th, 2017. We won't telegraph our moves to the enemy. We will, however, light a fire to flush them out. Think about what Q is saying. Post 1081, April 8th. POTUS never telegraphs his moves. Post 1685. Now do you understand why mirrors and disinformation is necessary? Logical thinking. Post 2453. While we cannot telegraph everything, for reasons all can understand, we do try in our own way to inform loyal Annans and patriots. They can't let the deep state know what they're up to. They do give clues, but they can't release the full plans. They can't tell you, oh, by the way, on this date, at this time, this is when the Moab's going to hit. Because if they do this, the deep state will be waiting. They want them to use ammunition. They want them to push their operations forward so they can collect the intel on these individuals. The more information they gather, the better the case, because they're catching them in the act. Because people might, in the end, say, hey, that was in the past. They can say, no, we caught them doing it now. 3 months ago, 2 months ago, a week ago. What better way to bring down the house, to bring down the deep state, to drain the swamp, but to release everything all at once? Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.